Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Fox. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to talk about current conditions, what I expect to happen in 2024, and what stocks I foresee as doing very well in 2024. In this video, I'm going to focus on quantum computing stocks and artificial intelligence stocks because that's where I see the main rally occurring and continuing to occur for the next several years. I am so glad Santa Claus decided to arrive this year. The Christmas rally officially began the Friday before the weekend of Christmas weekend, I will call it. And we had Christmas on Monday, and Tuesday the market delivered, and the NASDAQ, which is the main index I follow and where I have virtually all my stocks, it went up over 0.5%. So Santa Claus is in town. I think he's going to stay a while. He usually stays for a couple days after the beginning of the year. So we very much have what looks like a solid Christmas rally. The major stock I'm forced to buy is Nvidia, and it is a buy. It is actually undervalued. It's selling for around $492 now. Its value is $666, okay? And its price to earnings is 24, which is relatively low for a major technology stock like this, because its earnings growth rate is 46, and especially in a bull market rally, the earnings growth rate tends to be the most important factor. And looking at the chart, Nvidia has been kind of cycling up and down, but lately, and with this Christmas rally, I want to see it start to take off. And the last 3 days, it has been steadily going up. And so that's a good sign. But I'm looking for it to continue this throughout the Christmas rally. Of course, you will have variation, but I expect it to come out sometime in early January, by January 10th, solidly above 500. Nvidia is well within its Bollinger Bands, and its relative strength is only 42, so it's not overbought at all. I decided to go back to the future and buy some Intel, whose symbol is INTC. I owned it during the 1980s. I sold Intel and Applied Materials back then to buy my first new car, so yeah, I have a history with this stock. But it's very different from Nvidia. This is a turnaround story. They've decided to become more or less a foundry stock. The reason Taiwan is so significant is that they make about 80% of the world's semiconductors. Other companies use them as a foundry to make their chips. And Biden passed, and Congress passed a bill, a Semiconductor Chips Act, to encourage production of semiconductors in the United States. And Intel is benefiting from that. And they recently had a major deal with Israel. They've been in Israel for 50 years, but they're going to invest $25 billion into building more of a foundry in Israel. So they're in the process of building foundries around the world. So I think it's a major growth story, and it's a transition story. I don't expect this to explode, dramatically, even though in the last week it sort of has exploded dramatically in the sense that it's gone up about 10%. And looking at the chart, you can see Intel has gone up from about 47 to almost 51, so it's gone up about 8% for the week. It just seemed like 10% because I've been waiting for it to go up for so long, and it's finally grabbing hold. And this news on Israel was kind of a big deal in that they're expanding internationally even more. Intel's relative strength is 65. So again, this is not overbought. That's the beautiful thing about this. You have rallies and you have some stocks that are not overbought. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, is second only to Nvidia in artificial intelligence, and it's had a good week and it's taken off. But its price to earnings is like 38, and its earnings growth rate is 8%. So they're really just kind of getting into the same league as Nvidia. They're second to Nvidia, but they're a distant second. They're going to have some catching up to do, but they've introduced some new chips that will put them in the running to be true competition with Nvidia. So I'm going to stick with them. And in the last week, they've done well. AMD is well within its Bollinger Bands, and its relative strength is 59. So again, it's not overbought at all. Looking at the chart, you're seeing two of my favorites, Super Microcomputer, which is SMCI, and it makes servers for artificial intelligence, and AVGO, which is Broadcom, which connects everything to everything. Broadcom has more or less just stayed the same. It's gone down a little over 1% during the week. I'm waiting for that to take off, but not really so much, just because it's gone up so much already that we need a period of consolidation with that stock. Super Microcomputer, I did not like the way it went down last week, and it went down over 8% for the week, but it did start to come back slightly on Monday. So the jury's out. It's above 294, I believe it is, and it's headed back towards going over 300. It's valued over 400. This time period does remind me so much of the 1980s. Of course, the technology is vastly different, but I guess I'm thinking of buying Applied Materials again. And the reason being that, like the 1980s, it's moving in unison with Intel. It's had a good week, and I noticed it's starting to take off. And its price to earnings is 26, but its earnings growth rate isn't there yet. And it's something I'm going to watch for a while before I commit myself to it. But it is something I'm watching, and it's probably something to put on your watch list, because if these two move together the way they did in the 1980s, it should do very well. And looking at the chart, you can see Applied Materials has had a good week. And I think with the price to earnings at 26 and chip stocks generally just doing well, it stands to reason that Applied Material, that there's something going on, that it's going to take off and keep taking. It already has taken off. Is it going to keep taking off? I think it's very likely. And last but not least is ASML, which makes semiconductor equipment vital to the production of artificial intelligence chips. They make the lithography equipment. Their earnings growth rate is 18%, and their price to earnings is 36, so it is overvalued. But the play on this is that the particular equipment they make, they're the only ones making it, and it's so important for artificial intelligence that I think the artificial intelligence movement is going to overwhelm the overvaluation, and it's like Tesla used to be back in the old days. It will come into value, and it will keep going up, I believe, and it's done very well in the last week. And looking at the Bollinger Bands, you can see that it is at the lower part of the Bollinger Bands, and its relative strength is only 42. So ASML is probably underbought, but it's making steady progress in the last week. from the 753 to the 762. And I look at this as a long-term play on equipment vital to the production of artificial intelligence, which I expect to be the major trend of our times. In the near future, I'm planning to do a video on triple leveraged funds because I've found them to be so helpful, and they'll be on triple leverage bullish funds because we are in such a bullish Santa Claus rally. So I think that could be of benefit if you are careful with them. This is not a recommendation because I can't recommend them because they're too risky. They're really made for day trading. But I feel like when I'm in a rally like this, I could be doing that more, but I found myself wanting to stick more with individual stocks for right now because I think we're entering a little bit more of a stable period. Now, that can change, and you can still benefit from the triple leverage if you watch it carefully and you know that it's a risk factor. But it's something that can be beneficial, and I think it's just interesting. So I plan to be doing that in the near future.